Hey, it's Coach Taylor from SmarterTeamTraining.com. Today I got on the phone Matt Nein from Salisbury University. And I'll be honest with you, I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm around lacrosse people all the time. And one guy that I keep my eye on when we get a chance to run into each other or even go back and forth on email or other social media entities is this guy, Matt Nein. And if you're in the college sector, if you're somebody who's in the undergraduate level looking for an internship or a GA opportunity, and you're looking for someone to just mentor you and be hands-on, not just an equipment cleaning kind of experience, I'll just give that heads up. And you want to reach out to this guy. So before even starting the show here, this guy is an outstanding resource for young people in our field. And if you have some experience in this field, and maybe you're not big into the lacrosse world, as that sport grows, this guy is one of those guys you got to reach out to find out what has worked for him at the Division III level. He has some things he has to work through that was different than I had at Division I or even at the international level. So it's cool just to hear what has worked for him on a regular basis. And we've gone back and forth several times. Obviously, I'll even tell you a story here. We actually did this show prior to, and it had a little bit of a sound thing, and it didn't sound very good. And Matt got back on the phone with me and said, let's do this right and do it again. And so as a professional, this guy has an unbelievable commitment to being great. And just taking a little bit of time out of your day here, Matt, is really appreciated on my end, as you well know. And I'm looking forward to having another great conversation to share with the STT community.
Yeah, Rob, I'm excited as well. I mean, this is a great opportunity, and you know, looking back even into the previous conversation that we had, you know, I think maybe we'll even be able to see more come out, you know, and talk about different items and different things. So I'm really excited to chat here and get some good information out and see what's going on.
Matt, before we get started here, we'll post your description of what you've done in your career and that type of thing, the bio type aspect of who you are. But do me a favor, can you share with me and the listeners a bit about your passion? Tell me a little bit about what you got going on now and maybe some things that you got going on that are pretty unique there at Salisbury, please.
Rob, passion for me, I mean, I love strength and conditioning. You know, we titled our sport performance here. We've grown a little bit, kind of getting out of that strength and conditioning concept of what people typically think. But being in the weight room, being with athletes, that's what drives me. Love working with the athletes day in and day out in the weight room, mentally, just walking around campus even. Some just the interactions. I think that's where I'm passionate about, being able to watch them grow, see them when they come in as a freshman. And you know, we just went through our testing here this past week and a half, being able to watch them as a freshman and see their timidness, their, you know, just they haven't really molded or grown as an individual yet. Just being able to watch that and knowing that I've had an impact on their play, on them as an individual, and hopefully when they become, you know, a professional, you know, in whatever realm that they're doing in life, that hopefully my impact that I've been able to have carries on with them in terms of their fitness and so forth. We want to see that lifelong concept. That's part of our mission here as an institution, and so it's one thing that I want to make sure that we instill is that. I mean, that's what drives me. I love creating the experience. You know, those guys, when I'm walking around campus and, you know, I feel like I'm the mayor, you know, and that's a cool feeling. That just makes me excited day in and day out to come to campus, to come early, to work in small groups, to work in large groups, you name it. Love doing it. On the athlete side, I also really enjoy working with our coaches. So, you know, both our athletic coaches and helping them develop their knowledge towards sport performance and you know, even how they institute their practices from a recovery standpoint, being able to get some of our training into their practice sessions. And, you know, it's been, you know, our coaches have, you know, grown in that aspect over the past, well, I've been here 11 years now, and they've come a long way where they're giving us more and more, you know, taking some restrictions off of us, letting us do what we know and really helping out. And they've been wonderful with that, and I really, you know, thank them for giving us that opportunity. But also our GAs, our interns, our volunteers, being able to develop them to come out of here and be prepared, ready to step into any assistant position, a JET graduate assistant position, an intern position, or even a full-time assistant. They are that's passion for me is let's get them out of here. Let's get them going, get them to where they need to go in their career. And again, I think, part of that also, it helps our program continue to grow. So, making sure that we're on twofold. We're not just focusing on the athletes. We're going to focus on our coaches, because the better our coaches coach, right, the more information our athletes receive, and they're going to be better for it in the long run as well. So I got to make sure I'm focused on both, and that's where my passion lies with, my coaching staff and my athletes, just being able to get them just the interactions on a daily basis.
I want to talk about the young athlete, the new athlete into your program, and that might be a senior, a high school senior going to become a freshman. It might be someone transferring in. It might be coming from a JUCO. You kind of get the gist there. If someone's new to your program, maybe even they're a student at the school there, and they want to take on a new opportunity or a new challenge, and they want to become part of the program you guys have going there. How does an athlete start in your training program? What are some things that they're going to go through, whether it's testing, whether it's movement assessment, or do you guys do anything at all? I mean, I really don't know, so I'm asking this kind of openly for that matter. I mean, the first time someone comes into your facility to train underneath your program, what are some things you do with them?
Very first thing we do, FMS. We make sure we want to get a good baseline, just kind of see where they're at. Again, it's not the end-all, be-all, but I think it gives us a good indication of the type of athlete that we're going to be working with, some of their movement efficiency, how well they're going to be moving for us, and also it gives us an early quick snapshot of where in relationship to some of our returners are. A lot of times we're seeing here is, they're very, very low. They've never really been in a weight room that often. It's easy to really see that. Again, we're just coming off of that these past 2 weeks here, and we are seeing this exactly. These new guys in, freshmen, even transfers coming in. We have a guy transfer coming in, and their movement patterns are not very efficient. So that's our first initial screening. From there, what we'll do is we go through a developmental block. We'll take them through 2 developmental blocks before we actually start allowing them to move through our regular program. Developmental block 1, we're looking at assessing athletic stance, hip hinge, push-up, inverted row, and goblet squat. So those are our initial baseline. If they can hip hinge well and push up well, they're going to be able to do our basic movements well. Right? That's what we're looking for. Can they do them? If they cannot, we have guys that be surprised that you say, show me your athletic stance, and mind-blowing as to what I see. And I hope we're not playing like that, but that's what we are. They can't hip hinge. They have no idea to how to drive the hips back. Everything goes down. It's something that is, they've never worked on before. So we'll program them in our developmental blocks to help with those concepts. They'll get retested. Usually we'll look at anywhere about 2 to 4 weeks before we'll retest, make sure that they can effectively perform those movement patterns. Move into development block 2, where we'll start looking at our bench, our squat, our deadlift, and patterning them with bar, dowels, things along that line, so that we can move effectively using that type of equipment before we actually start loading. Once they clear 2, if they still can't move effectively with that bar, we have a program that they'll move through. They'll get retested again somewhere 2 to 4 weeks, and then they should, hopefully at that point, we're ready to rock, and we should be able to move right into our training plan. Sometimes we have some minor adjustments that we need to make. They're not overly bad, per se, I guess. They're little tweaks of the exercise that we need to make with just a slight regression. So they might move into the program that we're currently working with the returners. However, they might have a slight modification before they actually move into seeing the exact same types of programs that our returners are doing.
If I had the opportunity to come watch you actually train, work out, and take your guys through, I'm hoping an unbelievable session. Are there exercises that you avoid, or for that matter, exercises that you encourage in your program? And that might be sport to sport, or even freshmen to seniors. There might be some differences there, so you can pick and choose your direction with the conversation there. But I'm just kind of curious, if I'm going to do consulting with you, or if I'm going to come down there and just read through your card for the day, are there exercises that you encourage on a daily basis or avoid on a daily basis?
No and yes. When I say that, what I mean here is in the no aspect, no, I don't avoid anything as long as it's developmentally appropriate. Is our athlete, is their sport, should they be doing that? Is it needed? Okay. So we're going to base everything off of a needs analysis. Our rookies, for example, they may not be ready to move into any type of Olympic lift or things along that line. So we might need to regress them back, let them become more proficient in some of the base type movement patterns before they start getting into. So in that case, yes, right, I would, not use that, clean or something along that line with our rookies because they're not developmentally ready for that. So, we look at it as our program. It is an open book. We have thousands of tools in our tool chest, and we're going to figure out what is most appropriate for that athlete right now. That's going to get them to be the most optimal athlete at this point. Okay? As they progress, we'll look at a long-term athletic development model for our freshmen that are coming in, and where do we want them as a sophomore, as a junior, and as a senior. And hopefully our program then will start to slide them in that direction. That's our goal when they first step in. Again, as we go through that FMS and our baseline movements, where do we want them to be? And so in that aspect, yes, there will be exercises that we avoid, mainly because they're not developmentally ready for that. But then again, we are open. We are ready to rock. If they're ready to move and we need to move explosively, we're gonna get in our cleans. We're gonna get those Olympic lifts in. We're going to teach them, they're going to learn them, and we're going to get after them only if they're developmentally ready for that opportunity.
As we're talking about developing athletes and hopefully movement efficiency being at the forefront of that, I want to talk a little bit about the youth athlete versus the college athlete. When I was in the college sector on a weekly basis and multiple times sometimes, depending on the time of the year, I would get requests for our summer workout manuals or what we were doing for the in-season program with our kids. And every time I got that answer or got that email, I was always concerned, and I really never sent anything out to anybody that was interested because I felt like our setting was different. The kids we got a chance to work with were different. I don't know what the individual got, that was inquiring, what they had in their stalls, if you want to call it that, as far as the horses they had to play with and get a chance to work with on a daily basis. I mean, how do you address people who want to request your college program? Is it appropriate for youth or high school levels, just generally speaking? And then again, are there also exercises that might be more appropriate for young players? I mean, we had just, especially with our ladies side of our program, just teaching them how to do a proper push-up or what's expected in a underhand row, if you want to call it inverted row, or the guys learning how to do a proper pull-up. Just our freshmen, it was just a little different. I mean, walk me through that if you wouldn't mind. What do you think is an appropriate exercise or exercise protocols for young players? And then tell me a little bit about how you handle that whole college program to be used at the high school and middle school level.
We get the email, the phone call all the time about our college program. Can you send me this? Can you send me that? That sport, this sport, and so forth. And, I'm honest with them right up front. I am not going to send them that program. I'm going to, I'm also going to help educate them in terms of what's going on, why our programs are the way they are, how we're designing. I was actually just asked a few weeks ago to get our program, and I sat down and talked with the guy in detail about what we're trying to accomplish here. And, these college programs, they are specifically designed for the college athletes. So our athletes, we go through a needs analysis. We assess them. We know where they are coming from, most of our, especially our returners, what they've done in the past. And again, that's that long-term athletic development type of model where we're trying to get them to a certain point based off of our coach's tactics. So we're going to sit and meet with our coach. We want to understand their tactics of the game. How are they going to implement the game? Okay? Are they a run and gun? Are they, what type of tactics are they going to play? They play out of transition, for example, like soccer or something along that line. We need to make sure we understand that first, and that's going to play a large role into what we're designing. So if you're, just looking for our program, hey, what does Salisbury do? I want to play, lacrosse, and I'm 14. We are not, this program is not going to be designed for you. Our program is designed for our athletes based off of our needs assessment, needs analysis, and where our coaches' tactics are currently for this year, which could change next year. In terms of exercises, biggest thing that I think is developmentally appropriate. One of the big things that I see is everybody just wants to do what the professional guy is doing, the big leaguer, or, the guy who's making the most amount of money, or even the current fad. Okay? But we don't know enough about it. We haven't educated ourselves enough about it. We just want to do it because that's what everybody else is doing. And I think that's not the right mindset that we should ever have. We should always know why, right? With our athletes, I want my athletes to understand why they're doing what they're doing. I think they'll grow tremendous amount by learning that. And again, our concept here and what our mission is part of this, these lifelong learners of fitness and so forth. When they're 40 and 50 years old, I want them designing good programs for themselves. I want them to look back and say, okay, hey, I know why I'm doing this now. And I don't think I see that happening very much. We just do something because that's what everybody else is doing. It's got to be developmentally appropriate. We need to understand different phases in our life. Where are we at? If I am, 6 years old, do I need my 6-year-old, plyometric training? And they look like they can do it, but developmentally, where are we? Are we having fun? Are we creating excitement? Sometimes I'm going to say, what we see is no. There's some shows on TV that you see, and it's just mind-blowing what's going on out there. And I think that's a major issue here in the United States across the board, that we need to understand why we're doing what we're doing, and it's got to be developmentally appropriate. There's plenty of websites out there that can help you with this. There's a United States model on long-term athletic development. There's a Canadian model on long-term athletic development. Physiologically, at different points in our life, there's different things that are occurring, to where designing a strength program, heavy loaded, is probably not ideal, because physiologically you're not going to see many gains from it. They might be able to move through the pattern, but not ready for that yet. So we need to make sure that we know 100% why we're doing what we're doing, understand what the models are that are out there. They're there to teach us. They're there to help us, guide us, and then let's implement the most appropriate. Find the person in your area that knows the most, right? The person who is most knowledgeable about this, who spent years, time, experience, and then let's get with them. Let's get with that person, because the guy who's just got a personal training certification, they spent a weekend at a company, and they may know a lot, but in terms of who I'm, my kids, for example, I want to make sure that they're with the person who knows the most about the topic. I don't want an injury that causes a bad experience, or just a bad experience in general, because they're not going to develop passion either about that. And again, that goes back into that lifelong development. I've got to create passion early in what we're doing. Right? With our programs here at the collegiate level, I've got to create passion. If I don't create passion for them, they're not going to work hard. If they don't work hard, they're not giving the effort, they're not going to see gains. And that's going to impact their performance, and also could impact their risk of injury. And then I haven't done my job.
I want to talk about testing, if you wouldn't mind. We have a ton of athletes here in the summertime, especially the freshmen, and I feel like the freshmen stress out about this more than probably any other level of sports, and I'm including the middle school, the high school, but the freshmen going into college, they work their tail off to pass that 20-minute, 30-minute evaluation, and they feel like they've accomplished something, like they've won, and they forget that the next day is going to be another test, and another test, and another test, and that's just kind of the college environment. You're preparing your body for the entire preseason, not just that one test. But I also want to know about how do you handle testing and evaluations from a strength or conditioning side of things? Are you just a early in the semester type of guy, the beginning of the season guy, and you're done? Are you retesting every 4 or 6 weeks, depending on what kind of model you're using? Are you comparing one to what's called a winner, and then when they come back in January? And then how are you motivating or using that as a motivational tool? I mean, walk me through this concept of testing, the importance of testing, and then really how you're using those numbers to interpret or to manage your program.
My philosophy related to testing, there's got to be a purpose for it. Okay? We're not just going to test. Sometimes you see that, coach wants me to test this, coach wants me to test that, and that's not my philosophy. I strongly don't believe in that. We're going to use the testing to help enhance our program, whether it is enhancing the program that I'm designing, or to see if the program is working. Are they getting better, stronger, more powerful, whatever our outcome that we're looking for is. I don't think the testing is a form of a punishment. Okay? If you want to look at it like that, saying, oh, we're going to test you when we get back, make sure that you're doing your work. Again, that doesn't breed, a great quality culture. We want to see, we want people to work because they're intrinsically driven to get better every day. If I use that as that form, where I'm testing you to make sure that you are working over the summer, they're not going to put quality effort in. Right? Great books, Lead for God's Sake, talks about this, the hatchet and the money bag as being this reward type system. Either we're rewarding because it's a negative, right? And we're expecting the motivation to come out of, a negative light where, if they don't want to, if they don't want to run, 10 laps or 10 sprints, then they're gonna work harder. Or we have the dangling win. So if they want to win and be great, they're going to do it. I don't think that works. The book talks a lot about developing love, developing passion, and developing that with your athletes, and in terms of motivating and becoming successful. I think that's where testing needs to go. I think maybe on the Division III level, I'm not 100% sure how it's working on the Division I level and so forth. They've got a lot of different rules than we do. When we get to the summer, we can monitor for safety. That's part of our NCAA rules that we have. So they're out, they're gone, they're away. I'm not going to see them for 15 weeks. But hopefully, the culture, the environment that we created here, they have an intrinsic drive. They're intrinsically driven to want to get better for themselves. Okay? And hopefully through communication with teammates and so forth, we're seeing what's going on, and they're working, they're putting the effort in, so that when they come here, we test so that we can utilize our numbers to enhance our program that we're doing. We are percentage using our 1RMs, percentage of our 1RMs, and whether we 3-5 RM test or we 1 RM test. I mean, there's some teams are ready for a 1 RM test. They want to see, they're ready to go, they're amped up, they want to see what they can lift one time. Great. Other teams, we might 3-5 RM them. Technique-wise, they're not great. They're not exceptional at it yet, so we might 3-5 RM them and see what they can do multiple times. And also some sports, from a needs analysis standpoint, we want to see what they can do 3 to 5 times. We don't want to see what they can do just one. Okay? So we'll determine that based off of our assessment of our program, talking with our coaching staff and so forth, and so everything breaks down off that in terms of what we're testing. In terms of the detail, we'll make sure we see what we're doing, but we also want to see some performance tests. We want to see, for example, baseball. We want to see grip strength. We want to see rotational power. I want to make sure that the program that I'm putting together is actually going to enhance, or help them on the field, enhance their performance. Because if it's not, I don't know if that's a good program. I'm going to say it's probably not the most optimal program that it could be. And that's what we want to design. I want to design and implement the most optimal program and gain the most optimal amount of effort from our athletes. If one is off, it is almost a waste of time. We didn't gain what we could have gained out of it. So that's the most important when it comes to testing that I believe.
I want to talk about motivation, and from a standpoint either working with your staff, the coaches, the players, interns, GAs. I mean, everybody has potentially a little bit of a different way that they're motivated. Do you go through the course of the year with a motivational plan of some type to really keep your staff, just pushing? I mean, we're always trying to get better, whether it's reading a book, listening to a podcast, even sharing research articles, talking to coaches, going to clinics with your players, making sure that they're eating and hydrating and sleeping well, and putting their studies, make sure that's a priority. And also contributing to the coaching side of things and helping them either with the mental game or the recovery strategies that might be appropriate for their sport or their schedule. I mean, how are you developing a motivational plan that inspires people from the inside out, as well as an educational opportunity to just keep people hungry to learning and doing more?
Rob, I think this is one of the biggest topics that isn't covered a tremendous amount. You typically don't see a tremendous amount about motivation and in the weight room, and it's always been in the past. They should want to get better and so forth. And I don't know if that's this type of athlete anymore. And to be honest with you, I don't know if it was ever that type of athlete. But nowadays, I think what we're seeing is this has to be talked about. It has to be addressed, how we motivate, and then also looking at their growth, where are they going to be, those types of things. So we really need to step back and take a look at how are we motivating and spend time doing that. With our coaches and athletes, looking at it, the biggest thing I think, again, is it comes out of our core values. Okay, our core values here, we're looking at attitude, energy, enthusiasm, effort. With that, I need to make sure that I am intrinsically driving my staff and my athletes. Will we do some extrinsic work? Yeah, right. We're going to attend a clinic and things like that and get them a ton of information and be jazzed up and ready to bring it back and implement it into the program. Or we sit and meet from, coming out of an internship that they did when they were, in the summer for my graduate assistants, and we're jazzed and ready to rock. What typically happens is we get, 6-7 weeks in, we've been doing the same thing for 3 to 4 days, with the same team day after and day in, day out. And it gets, it can get grueling. Okay? I think those are key times when you need to figure out what it is that drives your athletes. I can't sit here and say, oh, we do this or we do that, because each team's different. Some of our teams are more personal. Some teams we might do a more team event type of thing. It could be a challenge, a weight room challenge. One thing that we do here, we run an Iron Sammy, and our teams compete against each other, so we're always competing. I think that one thing that helps drive them and keeps them motivated. We're changing it up this year. We had always done it's pretty fun. It's a campus run, and we have 21 exercises that span all over campus, and their times, they start. So we might have, right here coming up, we will have baseball competing against men's lacrosse. What an awesome, opportunity, and they're out there. But we're going to kind of change that up a little bit, and we're actually going to compete them together so they can actually see each other competing. Usually the other one, they're all over different parts of the campus. They don't really get to see anything until the end. I think this will be pretty neat in how we challenge them. Other things that we'll do is, in terms of our challenges that we'll make, we might just go out, if baseball's out conditioning, I might talk to our lacrosse guys and say, hey, you guys want to challenge baseball? Let's take the tug of war rope over and let's get after it. And all of a sudden, like the energy is just off the charts because nobody wants to lose. So mixing them in is a key, I think, to the whole entire process. But figuring it out, what drives your athlete, that's got to be the biggest thing. And then same thing with your coaching staff. What drives your coaching staff? Some people might be a little bit more extrinsically driven. I don't think that's lasting. You got to figure out what drives them intrinsically. Once you've done that, then your program will soar, I think. I think it's limitless where it will go, is because they want to come to work day in and day out and get after it for you, for them, for the betterment of the program, and that's where it is. Figuring out intrinsically what drives each of your athletes, what drives each of your coaches. When you have that, that's what you work off of.
If there's a young strength and conditioning, sports performance student, or maybe a young professional just graduated, and they're coming into your program and they want to learn a little bit about you, I mean, what's one big motivational message that you have for them as far as pursuing this as a career? I mean, there's going to be ups and downs that they have to be ready for. I mean, when you get involved in this field, you have to sign up for the unbelievably cool things, and then also the grind of the daily ins and outs of what we do, from the early mornings to the late nights to the road trips, to dealing with sweaty people, to dealing with people happy, the whole gamut, man. It's really cool to see all the different things we get a chance to be involved with. But, I mean, what's one big message you have for the young professionals or the individuals that are just looking to just try to elevate their game in this field?
I've got a couple. Hopefully that's okay. The biggest one, you've got to put the work in. You've got to be passionate. You've got to put effort forth in everything. Don't just leave it as X's and O's. Okay, the nuts and bolts of stuff. I think too often that's what happens is, I got to learn this, I got to learn that, I got to learn the program design pieces and things like that. And what ends up happening is we forget about the coaching side, and all of a sudden we forgot about how to coach. And one of my big things that I talk about with my staff here is, you could design the best program in the world, but if you can't implement the program, it is the worst program in the world that you've ever designed. So X's and O's are great. We've got to learn that stuff. You've got to know in and out and up and down and everything about you're going to be what you're programming. But you also got to focus on the other aspects. And the other aspects that I think that we need to make, the connections that you make with your athletes, the experiences that you create, okay? And ultimately, it's the memories that you make. You want guys coming out of there that, 15 years down the road are coming back to you and say, hey, thank you. Because that's when you made a difference. You made a difference with your athletes while they were there, right? And it was lasting. Okay? If you made that lasting memory, what you did during that training session or those 3 years, 4 years, whatever they were, if they were transferred, you did the right stuff. You were doing stuff that made them better as an athlete, as a person. What else can you ask for? But don't forget about the coaching aspect. Really dive deep into that. Go out and meet people, as many people as you as possibly can, but figure out how they coach. Like, sit and look at that stuff. Don't get overly caught up in just the X's and O's, especially the young guys. If you can get young guys that coach very well, that is something special, I think.
Well, Matt, man, I know you're a busy guy, and again, for the listeners, we're doing this right in the middle of the day. We're trying to get this thing knocked out so you guys can listen to. I thought it was an incredible conversation, Matt. I mean, I took a ton of notes, which I'm sure after we get I'll get off the show here, I'll either go over with you or I'll catch up with you later, my man. And we can follow up on what I have on my side here. But if anybody had any interest in becoming an intern, a GA, or find out where you were speaking, if they wanted to just reach out to you to learn more about any aspect of the strength gain, and I do know that Matt here works with many sports there at Salisbury. But if you are a lacrosse person, this is one guy you want to talk to. I think he does an incredible job with all of the programs, but he's especially an exceptional resource to the lacrosse side. And I get asked a lot of times about the lacrosse, what we're doing for lacrosse. And when we're fortunate to live in the mecca of lacrosse, if you want to call it that. And this is one of the guys that I would definitely reach out to find out more information about that sport if you're listening to the show in Arizona or California or Montana. And that just happened to be 3 conversations on emails this week alone for me. Reach out to Matt. So, Matt, do me a favor. If anybody has any questions about anything that we talked about on this show, maybe they wanted to connect you with you for whatever reason, I mean, what's the best way for them to reach out to you, my man?
Best way to get a hold of me is through email. My email address is manein@salisbury.edu. Please feel free to send me an email. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. I think being able to help and develop anybody, anywhere, at any time, I'm definitely willing to step in if they're willing to email me. I'll take the time to help you out any way possible. Same thing with an internship. If you're possibly looking for an internship, send me an email. We'll get you our information in terms of what we require and so forth. Would love to go through and see what we can do to help you out on that aspect. And again, Rob, I definitely appreciate having this opportunity to talk, and hopefully look forward to more opportunities to talk with you down the road and at different locations and so forth. But again, thank you for this opportunity, and wish you well.